Right. Had I some of them corrected or not? I'd up to number 6 done, had I? No. Right, number 7. Anyone have a problem with number 7? Anyone? No. Sorry? No. Say that again? Yeah. So, yeah. Does anyone need me to do number 7? No. Does anyone need me to do number 8? Does anyone need me to do number 9? Yeah. Right, okay. So number 9 says, right, there's a wedge of cheese, which forms part of a circular cylinder of radius. Okay, so it's a piece of cheese, right, but it really was a cylinder. Okay, so it really was a cylinder. Okay, so there's the chunk of cheese that came out of the cylinder. Is that alright? Okay, right, now I'm sure the cylinder wasn't that tall. In fact, it was only 4 centimetres tall. Okay, right, so cylinder with a height of 4 centimetres, and it's got a radius of 14, doesn't it? Right, okay, and it tells me this is 45 degrees. We'll deal with that in a minute. Okay, find the volume of the wedge correct to the nearest whole number. Okay, so sorry? No, it says 45. Sorry. Okay, right, is that okay? So, are we all okay? So what we're going to do is, right, okay, it's basically we're going to get, now that's really bad depiction of it, we're going to get the volume of the whole cylinder, right? So as if the cheese was a whole cylinder, we're going to get the volume of the whole cylinder, okay? So that's what we're going to do first. So that's 4 centimetres. This is, the radius is 14 centimetres, okay? And off you go to your log tables, pi r squared h. So it's pi multiplied by r squared multiplied by h, right? And it says correct to the, so that's pi multiplied by 14 squared multiplied by 4, right? Okay, so into the calculator with that. I am. That would be, oh, thank you, 784 pi cm cubed. Right, so that's if we had a whole cylinder of cheese, right? But we've only got a wedge, okay? So the wedge, they tell me, is 45 degrees, right? So if we had the whole circle, right, that would be how many degrees? 360. But we have 45 out of 360. That's the fraction of the cylinder we have, isn't it? So you multiply that by the whole cylinder, which is 784 pi, into the calculator, and you round it up to the nearest whole number, and you get 300 and someone? 8? Thank you. cm cubed. Yes. Why don't I take it? Because I want to know what fraction of the whole thing I have. Okay? So I want to know, so if I have 45 degrees, if I had the whole lot, it would be 360. So if I put 45 over 360, I'll see what fraction of the whole thing I have. Okay? Right. Anybody else? Questions? Is that right? Okay, anyone need me to do number 10? Yeah. Can I take this away? Take it away. Going, gone. Right, okay, number 10.
You don't have to do it. It's okay.
Oh, sorry, it was you who asked for 10, that's okay. Does anyone else need 10? No, we're okay. Number 11?
Yeah.
Number 11, it says find the volume of the prism shown here. Right, okay. Remember, the volume of a prism is area of the front multiplied by the length back. Okay? So at the front, it's actually a cylinder, but it's still a prism. A prism is something that has the same shape at the front as it has at the back. So this is a circle at the front, so therefore, and there's a circle at the back that's exactly the same. And if you were to slice it anywhere in the middle, you get the exact same circle again. So the area of the front is 29 cm cubed, they told cm squared even, right? And you multiply that by 20 and you get 580 cm cubed. Am I right with 580? Yeah. Is that right? Okay, so it's as simple as that. Right? And I would tell you, you know the way if you do one of these questions and you haven't a clue what's going on, but there's two numbers there, right? Okay, there was just two numbers in that sum, right? My advice to you is multiply them, right? Even if you haven't a clue what you're doing or what you don't even know what topic you're on, if there's two numbers, multiply them. Chance around. You have a 1 in 4 chance of getting it right, because you're either going to add them, subtract them, multiply them, or divide them, aren't you? So take a chance, right? Okay, is that right? Now I'm going to start some revision now of algebra. That's area and volume, as far as I'm concerned, the area and volume revised, okay? Or do you want me to start with coordinate geometry of the line first and get that out of the way, and then I'll have the rest of the time for... Do algebra now? Right, okay, no bother. Right, okay? Can I tell you it would be a good idea to do them now? It's a really good idea to revise indices, right? So, do you take it down? No, there's no point in taking anything down because it's all in your notes copy. So you might get more out of listening, okay? Yes?
Do you know when we were doing the interstate, well, the algebra test and the rules were like only in number form, I don't really understand the way.
The rules are in the log tables, right? Okay. So what I do is I'll have the rules up as well. Right, I seem to be low in log tables again. I don't know where there's one there. I'm still missing it there, but anyway, here. Right, will I explain what the rules in the log tables mean? Right, will you have a log table please for your exams? Right, and if you don't, I said the people who don't, if you come here, I'll give you a loan of one. Okay, right, because there's a few pages, so I won't be able to put them all up on Teams, and I'd say whoever supervised me won't be happy with you out on your phones, so you probably won't be allowed Teams, okay? So if you come here, I'll give you a copy, right? Okay, in the meantime, if you don't bring, or if you're in Easton's or somewhere, just buy them, they're €4, it won't kill you. What am I doing? Algebra. What am I looking for? Algebra. Right, okay, to find the rules of indices, right, to the front. Right, you're looking for algebra. Algebra is on page 20. So off you go to page 20. Right, okay, and they're actually on page 21. Look, indices and logs. Okay, logs are here, that's higher level there. So it's the first column, okay? Yeah, I'll zoom in a small bit, right, and we'll see what form they're written in, right, and I shall give an example of each one, right, okay? So, you know this is a to the power of p, there's no sign between them. When there's no sign, what's understood to be there? Always in maths, if there's no sign, what is it? Multiplied by. So it's a to the power of p, a to the power of q, this is the first rule that's written down, a to the power of p plus q. So that means if you something like, I'll zoom out now for a minute, I'll zoom back in for the second rule in a minute, right? Okay, so that's what the first rule written down at the top of the page means. That means if you have something like 2 to the power of 3 multiplied by 2 to the power of 4, that's equal to the same base, a. So 2, 2, 2, and 3 plus p plus q means you add these two numbers. So you add 3 plus 4 and you get 7. So if I had x to the power of 7 and beside it I have x to the power of 4, what's my answer? X to the power of 11. If I have x to the power of 3 and x to the power of minus 2, x to the power of 1. The rule is you add them, but 3 add minus 2 is the same as 3 take away 2. Is that right? Sorry? Yes, you can't write, good question, Right? Sarah asked, will the numbers be the same? So if I have something like this, 2 to the power of 4, is there any shortcut there? Absolutely no shortcut there. You'd have to say 3 squared is 3 by 3 is 9, and 2 to the power of 4 is 2 by 2 by 2 by 2, which is 16, and you'd have to say 9 by 16 is whatever it is. Right? Is that okay? Right, so if the bases, they're called the bases, if the bases are not the same, there's no shortcut. So you can't do, so if I had something like x to the power of 4, y to the power of 5, can I do anything with that? Absolutely not. But if I had x to the power of 4, x to the power of 5, can I do something with that? What's the answer? X to the power of 9. Yeah, that's when you're multiplying. And how do you know when you're multiplying? There'll be a multiply sign or there'll be nothing. Because nothing means multiply. Okay? Right? So there'll be a multiply sign or there'll be absolutely nothing. Right? Remember in maths, no sign means multiply. So if they want you to add, subtract or divide, they'll give you the sign. If they want you to multiply, sometimes they write nothing. Okay? Right, are we okay? That's rule number 1. Now, hang on, there's just something about the math. Right, okay. Next rule number 2. Right, okay, so this is how it's written in the log tables and this is what it means. So how it's written in the log tables is there a to the power of p over a to the power of q. That means divided by, right? So a to the power of p divided by a to the power of q, a to the power of q is equal to a to the power of p minus q. I'll zoom out now. Right, okay, so that's rule number 2. That's how it's written. Okay, so what that means is that's a divided by. Okay, so if I have something like 2 to the power of 8 divided by 2 to the power of 6, what's my answer? 2 to the power of 2. So the base stays the same and you just subtract the numbers. Okay, so if I have x to the power of 7 divided by x to the power of 4, what's my answer? X to the power of 3. Right, if I have x to the power of 5 divided by x to the power of minus 2. X to the power of, it's 5 minus 2, isn't it? That would be x to the power of the top, take away the bottom. And 2 minuses give me a plus. So the answer there is actually x to the power of 7. Is that alright? Okay, right. So let's combine those 2 rules together, right? Okay, so let's do one where we have to do both of them together. So if I have c to the power of 4, c to the power of 7, all over c to the power of 9. Okay, is that right? So if you have to do on top first. So anytime you have a fraction like this, you do on top first. Okay, there's no sign. So what do they want me to do? Multiply them. And in order to multiply them, what do you do? Add. So you say 4 and 7 is 11. Underneath the line, you have c to the power of 9. Now you do your division. So the rule is, to divide, you subtract. It's the top, take away the bottom. So what's the answer? 2. That's your answer. Is that right? Okay. So I bet you it makes a lot more sense this time. It always does the second time round. Here you go. C to the power of 3 divided by c to the power of 5. What's the answer? C to the power of minus 2. It's always the top take away the bottom. Common mistake people make, big number take away small number. But it's not. It's top take away the bottom. Right? Are we okay with that?
You know what, when you're dividing it and the like different bases.
There, if you have something like 2 to the power of 5 divided by 3 to the power of 2,
Yeah.
you can't do it. There's no shortcut. The bases have to be the same. Okay, so the only way to do that is 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 by 2, which is 32, divided by 9.
Okay.
Okay? Right?
The one that you tested, it was like,
Yeah. Can I build up to that one?
you know, like that one is so hard because you're going to be, like, have to remember that the root, the square root equals to half.
Yeah, that's here also. Right? The square root, it's actually not. Well, it kind of is. Right? Okay? Can I go to rule number 3 and I get onto the square root one in a minute? Right, so rule number 3 is written, so a to the power of p all to the power of q, right, is a to the power of pq. So there's no sign between the p and the q. So when there's no sign, what do they want you to do? Multiply. So basically raising a power to a power. Now please note, this is different to a to the power of p multiplied by a to the power of q. Does everyone see that that's different to that? Right. So raising a power to a power, you multiply. So you multiply the p by the q. So it means if you had something like 2 to the power of 3 all to the b squared, what's the answer? 2 to the power of 6. 3 multiplied by 2 is 6. Right? If you have x to the power of 4 all to the power of 3, what's my answer? X to the power of 12. Right? Got the next rule? Is that okay? Right. Okay. Making a lot more sense this time around? Always do. Right? Okay? Right. The next rule, girls, is anything to the power of 0 is 1. So anything. So it doesn't matter what the base is. 2 to the power of 0. Answer? 1. X to the power of 0. 1. C to the power of 0. Anything to the power of 0 is 1. Right? That's the next rule. It's written in the book. Right? So you don't even have to remember it. Is that right? Okay? Right. Next one. And if you're not sure, put it into a calculator. So if they gave you 3 to the power of 0, put it into the calculator and it'll give you 1. Okay? Is that right? You can, but sometimes there's an X in them. So you can't put the X ones into the calculators. Oh, but if it was number, like if I gave you 125 to the power of 1/3, you would put that into your calculator. Okay? Right? But just what does to the power of 1/3 mean? It's the cubed root, isn't it? Right? So it's the cubed root, which on your phone is, or phone, on your calculator is shift and the square roots over the square root sign. Okay? It's cubed root. It means what number by itself 3 times will give me 125, and the answer is 5. Okay, that was an aside. I got carried away there. Okay, so I'll continue on with the rules. Okay, will I? What time is it? Yeah, I will. Right. The next one is if I have a negative, right? So, sorry, I'll show you how it's written in the log tables. So they've written a to the power minus p. You bring it downstairs. This is upstairs, downstairs. Okay, they used to be shown on telly years ago. Before my time, I'm not that old, but it used to be called upstairs, downstairs. So I like to call this upstairs, downstairs. So if it's negative, you can bring it downstairs, make it positive. If it's downstairs, you can bring it upstairs and make it change its sign. Okay, so what that means is 2 to the power minus 3. Right? Okay, is that upstairs or downstairs? It's upstairs. If there's nothing, it's upstairs. So what you can do is bring it downstairs and make it 2 to the power of 3. Now there's nothing upstairs. I can't have nothing upstairs. So what will I do? 1. Every time there's nothing, it's 1. Right? Okay? So if I have 1 over 3 to the power minus 2, that's downstairs. So I can bring it upstairs and make it so it's now becoming upstairs and becomes 3 to the power of 2. There's nothing downstairs. 1. Right? Okay, so that 3 to be squared is 9 over 1. 9 over 1 is just 9. that right? Okay. Right. The next one is square root. Okay, girls, and there is an indice question on your Christmas test, and you ain't going to get through an indice question without doing a square root. Okay, so if I said 4, sorry? Yeah, it's written in here. I think I was on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like it was rule 5 because anything to the power of 0 is rule 4. Okay, so that was rule 4. A to the power of 0 is 1. Rule 5 was the upstairs downstairs one. Okay, this is rule 6. See how it's written, right? So it's a to the power of 1 over q is equal to the q root of a, right? Okay, so if you've a to the power of a half, right, it's whatever's underneath the line, it's the square root of a. Now, they never put in the 2 for square root, that's just square root. Sorry. Okay, so a to the power of 1 over q is the q root of a. So that means a to the power of a half is the square root, but they normally, for square root, they don't bother writing in the 2. Okay? If it was a to the power of 1/3, that'd be the cubed root of a. Right? Is that okay? If it was a number, like if it was 8 to the power of 1/3, what would you do? You'd write it into your calculator and press equals. Right? Okay? But what does that mean? It means the cubed root of 8. So it means what number by itself 3 times will give you 8. It's the answer is 2. 2 by 2 by 2. But like you don't need that calculator job. So if it's not an x, stick it into the calculator and press equals. Like they know you have a calculator, they expect you to do that. That's why they've asked you. Right? So you're all able to key in 8 to the power 1/3 into your calculator, aren't you? Right, okay. Right. The next rule is in here, and it says a to the power of p over q equals the cubed root of a all to the power of p. Right, okay. Now, that looks very complicated, right? All it means is, if it's a to the power of 2/3, split that up, girls, into a to the power of 1/3 all to be squared. Okay? So the 2/3 just split, take underneath the line and then above the line, right? So if I said a to the power of 3/4, what would you say? A to the power of 1/4 all to the power of 3, right? Okay, I'm keeping an eye on the time. Right, if I said a to the power of 5 over 2, what would you say? A to the power of a half all to the power of 5. Is that okay? Yes.
Could you also write it say if you're doing a and 5 over 2? Could you do it as
Say that again?
say if you're doing a and it's 5 over 2, could you write it as a square root of 2 to the power of 5?
Yeah, you could, yeah. Because a to the power of a half means the square root of a all to the power of 5. Yeah, you could. Is that the way you want to write it?
Yeah, so would you do the same for the other question?
Yeah, you could write the cubed root of a all to the power of 2.
And then you could do like the 4.
Yeah, the 4th root of a. So this would be the 4th root of a all to the power of 3.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay, are we okay with that? Right. Okay, and the last 2 rules there, girls, I wouldn't worry about them. Okay? We won't worry about the last 2 rules. They don't mean, they do mean a lot, but not this year. Right, don't worry about it. Okay? So they're the first rules, they're the important ones. Okay? Right. So now I'm going to do one like that was on that test that I gave you. Wait now until I see where our index is. You can. Just give me a sec. Now, The ones with the x's in them, right? Okay, so if I have something like 2 to the power of x equals 8, right? When you're write everything as write everything as 2 to the power of something, write everything as 3 to the power of something, 5 to the power of something, 7 to the power of something, and you'll be covered then. Okay? So this is written as, pick one of those numbers, it's written as 2 to the power of, so don't change it. Right. 8, you can change that to a power of 2. Sorry? Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, I know what you mean now. A bit slow. Right, okay, 8 can be written as a power of 2. What's 8? 2 to the power of what? 3. And then what do I do now? There's a 2 to the power of 2 to the power of, what am I left with? X equals 3. Right? Okay, I think the one in the last test I gave you was something like 7 to the power of 2 plus x equals 49 to the power of, I can't remember. Right, 49 to the power of 2. Something like that? Okay. What? Equals 49? Right, okay. Right. This is written as a 7 to the power of, isn't it? So what do I do with the 49? Write it as a 7 to the power of. Right? Remember, these are the numbers, so they'll either be written as a power of 2, 3, 5, or 7. Right? If they're not, you have to change them. Okay? 49, change that to 7 to the power of what? 2. Once you have 7 to the power of equals 7 to the power of, knock it off. So I get 2 plus x equals 2. X is on one side, numbers on the other. So x is equal to 2 minus 2. So x is equal to 0. Now it was slightly different in the exam, I don't know, but is that alright? But that's how you solve them. Okay?
Can you do the other one that was on the test as well?
Sorry?
Can you do the other question that was on the
I will.
test?
But you know what? I won't do it now because I have to log into Mess. Okay, so I'll continue on tomorrow. So I'll put Mess up and no, you can't leave.